You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cowboys. Locked On Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. And joining me today, as always, is my co-host, Landon McCool. You can check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. You can also listen to him on the Best Coast Boys podcast. Landon, what's going on, sir?
Not much. It's we're at a Tuesday. We got a normal week this week, which is kind of a rarity at this point of the season. So kind of nice to get into our rhythm for what should be the majority of the season, I would say.
Now, we're going to be a little bit out of order this week because our good old friends at the NFL Game Pass, they don't have the game quite up yet. So we're going to do our best to do a film review on Wednesday. We got a lot of questions today, though, that we're going to answer and will help maybe talk a little bit about the game from Sunday. But before we do that, Landon, I got a stat that I wanted to show you. And I wanted to get your thoughts. I just saw this. I believe it's by Ben Baldwin. I'm pulling it up right here. Yes. It's how often do offenses convert to a new first down after each down? Did you see this stat?
No.
Okay. So it shows you like how often do you get a first down on first down? How often do you get a first down on second down? Okay. The Cowboys lead the NFL in first down percentage, if that makes sense, right? How often do you get a first down on first down? 31% of the time. The next closest is the Kansas City Chiefs, and that is it. Landon, we talk about all the time. You know what the best way to avoid having to convert a third down is? Is just
getting a third down.
Not getting in third down. I thought that was pretty incredible. The Cowboys are getting a first down on 91% of their first and second downs right now.
That's absolutely insane. I mean, 30% first rate on first down.
31%, yes.
That's absolutely absurd. So basically every one out of every 3 first downs, the Cowboys obtain a first down.
Correct. The NFL average, by the way, is 21%.
That's crazy, man. That's just nuts. This offense is really just shockingly good. It's
the philosophy, right? We're not using all 3 downs to get a first down. We're going to try to get a first down every single time we have the ball, right? We don't care about manageable second downs and manageable third downs. It's just an entirely different philosophical switch, and I absolutely love it. All right, let's get to some of the guys' questions for this week. A lot of people want to know about this one, Landon. This one comes from our good friend Robbie. He wants to know, does Donovan Wilson get his job back when he is healthy? It seems like Ron Curse is too good to take off the field. I know our good friend Joey is just screaming into his phone or however he's listening to this right now. So go ahead, break the news to him softly, Landon. What's going on here?
Joey, I love you, buddy. I really do. But I don't know. I don't know how you take Curse off the field at this point. I think you find ways to get both of them on the field.
That's the answer, right? You find ways to get both of them on the field. Yeah.
You find ways to do a lot more 3 safety looks, because that's the thing, is that it's not like you suddenly just have two safeties that are playing well. You really have, you have 4. I mean,
I would say at least 3.5, right?
A Hooker played a good game last week. So I think that, between the guys that you have in there, it's currently starting with KZ and Curse, the Ks, Wilson is a guy that is incredibly volatile playmaker. It's really hard to keep him off the field as well. But the way Curse has been playing, you can't just, easily make the switch back. So I imagine that they're going to just play a bunch of 3 safety looks. They're going to rotate these guys. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll get Curse some more looks at the nickel, nickel linebacker spot. I just think that Curse is one of those guys who is versatile, so he can do a lot of different things for you. So maybe you bring back in Wilson to take the majority of snaps, but you just feature Curse a lot. You just bring him in for specific packages and stuff. So it's a great problem to have. And honestly, when was the last time? When was the last time that we had too many safeties that we wanted to play? I mean, that's just something I can't even remember. So
here's the thing, man. It's a really long season, right?
Yeah.
Like if you've learned anything from the first 4 games of the season, you're going to need all of these guys, right? Like you need every single one of these guys to play. Just not that worried about it, right? Like you're going to find stuff. Guys are going to be missing because of injuries. Hopefully no more guys are missing because of COVID stuff, but like you're just going to need all these guys. So I'm not overly concerned about it. And more importantly, it's probably going to be game plan dependent, right?
Yeah,
Like there's going to
exactly.
be game plans where J-Ron Curse is maybe a better option than Donovan Wilson or a better option than Malik Hooker. And there's going to be game plans where, hey, Donovan Wilson makes the most sense to play 85 to 90% of the snaps. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, Kerr specifically is so versatile that, I mean, again, he's going to be used in game plan specific ways, like you mentioned.
Yes.
So he'll get plenty of opportunities to get snaps. I'm not worried about these guys not getting enough snaps. Let's put it that way. There's tons of snaps to go around. And safety is such a versatile position that you can put 3 or 4 of them on the field at once, frankly, and have a sound defensive scheme. So, it'll be interesting to see how it gets deployed, but I'm certainly not worried about one or the other losing or not getting enough snaps.
I agree. They're going to use them all. They're all going to play different roles. They'll be fine. All right, we're going to get into a bunch more questions, but before we do that, I want to tell you guys about BetOnline. We are back and better than ever as all eyes are now turned to the gridiron. Our teams are back for another football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season with a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests. BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and the easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. All right, Landon, this is actually a really good question because we talked about this last night in a DM together. So a couple of people want to know if the Cowboys are going to make a trade to upgrade their defense over the next couple of weeks, because it's pretty clear this team is at least a contender. What spot are you looking towards, upgrading and improving? And is there any names that jump out to you?
Well, I mean, I would throw it to you, honestly, because the conversation we had last night was centered around pass rushers.
Yes.
Simply because of the idea that you can never have enough of them. You can certainly, if you're looking at adding depth there, talent included, there's some names on the street that might be available for pretty cheap. Cheap considering what their contribution might be for this team.
Well, and it depends on what you're looking for, right?
Names. Yeah.
Because if you're looking for a short-term solution, basically a guy to play 13 games plus the playoffs, I think there's a couple names out there. I'll give you the one that I actually mentioned on Twitter the other day. Melvin Ingram for the Steelers has played phenomenal to start the season. He is on a 1-year, like a $2.5 million deal for Pittsburgh. I don't see the Steelers making the playoffs. I don't see them bringing back Melvin Ingram. So if you want to give let's say a conditional 5th or 6th round pick for Melvin Ingram, who has like 13 pressures in 4 games, that would make a lot of sense, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think with the idea that when you're paying that price, that he doesn't need to be your starter. He could be a guy that comes off the bench as a rotational pass rusher and gives some snaps there. And this is what I told you last night is I don't know that they would do this because they like Armstrong so much.
Yes.
But I think that, it makes some sense to, kind of, as you put it, replace those Azur Kamara snaps with Melvin Ingram would be.
Now, it also might depend a little bit on DeMarcus Lawrence. Like if they just want to make sure they're not rushing DeMarcus Lawrence back. And I know the time frame was 6 to 8 weeks. If the Cowboys just have it in mind, hey, we're going to give him 10 to 12. We want to make sure he's good for the playoffs, and we need another veteran guy who can, play linebacker if we need him to, or come down and reduce to a 3 technique. I think Melvin Ingram can do that. Now,
yeah.
If you want a longer term solution and you're looking beyond this season, because listen, they do have some free agents, right? Like Terrell Basham, I think, signed a 1-year deal. Dorrance Armstrong is a free agent after the year, and you're looking to get somebody who could. Oh, Randy Gregory is also a free agent. What about Caleb Von Chason, Landon? Because that's somebody that we spent a lot of time talking about it this year, or at this time last year, right? Or during the last draft process. The Cowboys pretty clearly liked him, and they were thinking about picking him in the first round. I don't know if you've been following the stuff in Jacksonville right now, but it doesn't sound like it's going great.
Yeah, Jacksonville may be having a fire sale starting with their coach pretty soon.
You want him?
No, but neither did that girl in the bar. I feel like, first of all, just one quick correction. Basham's actually, I think, on a 2-year deal.
Oh, is he? Okay. Sorry.
I think, or at least a multi-year deal, because I remember looking it up and being surprised because they were just handing out 1-year deals. But you're completely right. Armstrong's gone after this year. Right? I'm sorry, I just completely sidetracked this.
I can't get back on track now.
Randy Gregory is definitely up after this year. So I think, obviously they're going to need to sign one of those guys and then figure out solutions for the rest. Chason is a guy that, look, he has not played well for Jacksonville early on.
He hasn't played a ton, though, either. Which is
he also, exactly, has not played a ton. But, a lot of that is because, from what we hear, he's not ready. So I think getting him in a system where he's probably going to get some better coaching might be a better situation for him. And it's a low risk reward because you would be buying him at, below cost,
fraction of the price, right?
Yeah. So, I think it's a play that makes sense to kind of for the long term. He gives you a guy who, he's been a little bit of a versatile player himself, not just strictly pass rusher. He can stand up, he can do some dropping stuff. So yeah, I do think that makes sense. But it also kind of depends on what they think the future is for guys like Armstrong and Randy Gregory.
Obviously, I think they're going to try to bring back Randy Gregory, but probably not Armstrong. And you're going to have to spend a pick to kind of replace him anyways. So let's say it's a 4th round pick. That's maybe a little too rich. Maybe a 5th round pick feels about right. Maybe you throw in a player there that Jacksonville could use. I know their secondary is beat up, so maybe that's where you see like, hey, does Jordan Lewis do anything for you? Maybe that makes some sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, we're going to continue to monitor this because, again, especially if the Cowboys continue to stack these wins on top of each other and they get to 4-1, 5-1, then it's time to start thinking about, hey, let's maximize this window.
Loading
right?
up. Yep, exactly.
And if it doesn't cost you a top 100 pick and it doesn't hurt you in the salary cap wise, it's just the right move. So we'll continue to monitor this. All right, next one, Lane. This one comes from Abram. He wants to know, who would you say has been the biggest surprise for the Cowboys through 4 games this season?
The biggest surprise. This is going to sound biggest surprise for like the general public, I think is without a doubt Osa Odighizuwa.
That's what I was going to say. Yes.
No one had any clue about this guy. You and I liked him because we watched his tape. I fell in love with him in his Senior Bowl practice tapes. And, just throughout the process, I like that kind of player, wrestler background, low center of gravity, strong, gets off the ball quickly. It feels like that's a situation that's, that was bound to be a good one. I am surprised at his early success, I would say. I thought he would be successful this year, but, at the rate that he's going right now, it's incredibly impressive. So I'm going to say him just because I feel like I said, even being a big fan of his, probably way more than the general public, I'm still shocked by what he's been doing so far.
That's my answer as well. You don't see 1st-round defensive tackles have hardly any impact their first year, right? Like they just don't do much. So to have a guy that you drafted in the 3rd round come and produce the way he is, like he's on par with some of the best guys in the league in terms of like pressure and pressure rate and run stuffs. Like it's been incredible how well he's played. We'll also tie this into a question that a couple of people have asked. How do you split the snaps with him and Gallimore once he's able to return?
Man, champagne problems, right? I think like with the defensive linemen, they don't play snaps like defensive backs or, they rotate so heavily that
It's
there's
so much easier to rotate there. Yes.
There's plenty of snaps. They'll play on the field together a ton, there's plenty of snaps to go around. I'm not concerned about getting Gallimore or Osa enough snaps. I mean, frankly, if anything, I was more worried about how many snaps Osa has having to play just because he's one of the few impact defensive tackles. So this is a needed addition, not just a luxury at this point.
And remember, they have some guys out there playing now that are just playing too many snaps. Like I think Quentin Bohanna is somebody that could have some limit his snaps a little bit. You had Justin Hamilton out there. Is it Austin Fahalu? I don't even know how to say his last name.
Yeah.
Fahalu was playing meaningful snaps for you last week. So if you can just kind of take away some of those snaps and give them to Neville Gallimore, maybe give Brent Urban some more snaps, I think that makes a lot of sense.
You keep poo-pooing it, but Tristan Hill's gonna be coming back because coach mentioned it the other day too. He's another guy that will be in that rotation, maybe more as a nose tackle type, right? But I think he will be a guy that will come in and give them relief at some point too.
We'll see. I was listening to Jerry Jones this morning on 105.3 The Fan, and he said, "Yeah, they're gonna have Christian Hill back here pretty soon." So
they changed his name to Christian. So some folks change their numbers, other folks change their first names. It's a crazy NFL right now.
All right, let's take one more break. Then we'll tell you about a guy that the Cowboys actually added to their team yesterday that I'm actually pretty excited about. But before we do that, RockAuto.com is a family business serving auto parts to customers online for over 20 years. They have everything from engine control modules and brake parts, motor oil, and even new carpet. Whether it's for your classic or your daily driver, get everything you need in a few easy clicks delivered directly to your door. The RockAuto.com catalog is unique and remarkably easy to navigate. Quickly see all the parts available for your vehicle and choose the brand, specifications, and prices that you prefer. Best of all, prices at RockAuto.com are always reliably low, and they're the same for professionals and do-it-yourselfers. Why spend up to twice as much for the same parts? Go to RockAuto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in the How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know that we sent you amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit RockAuto.com today. All right, Landon. I'm not even sure if you saw this because it kind of slid under the radar yesterday, but I typically don't get too excited for practice squad signings as the year goes on because it's just not that big of a deal. But the Cowboys did make one that was at least somewhat interesting. They signed cornerback Isaiah Johnson, who was a 4th-round pick in 2019.
Oh, really?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
The Cowboys really, really liked Isaiah Johnson in 2019. They actually, it's funny, this quick little story. They were debating between Tony Pollard and Isaiah Johnson in the 2019 draft, and they had a pick later on in the 4th round, and they thought that the best strategy was to take Pollard first, and then Johnson will fall to them like 7 picks later in the 4th round. They took Pollard. Johnson was the next pick. The Cowboys immediately traded down from the 4th round into the late 5th round. They took their next highest corner on the board, who was Michael Jackson, who's I think hanging around the league a little bit, but he's still around. Anyways, the point is the Cowboys front office likes Isaiah Johnson. I actually got to cover him quite a bit with the Raiders over the last couple of years. And I will say this, talent's not an issue at all. Like he can be a number 3 or number 4 cornerback. It's just been some durability stuff. But these are the type of practice squad signings I love, right? Guys that pretty clearly fit your scheme in terms of like the size requirements and guys with some draft pedigree. So just your thoughts on Dallas bringing in Isaiah Johnson.
I will say this, and I think we had another question about how the rest of the secondary is playing as well. So I'll kind of lump that into this real quick. And I'll just say that I do really like, Anthony Brown has played, I think, better than we had hoped at times. It hasn't been perfect, obviously.
He's gotten better since week 1. He was awful.
Absolutely.
Gotten better.
When you talk about bringing Kelvin Joseph back in, you've got these guys on the practice squad. You got Jordan Lewis. What you're collecting now, and then obviously Canada did not have a good game versus the Panthers. Man, I go back and rewatching that. There was one time where he just fell down while covering DJ Moore, I think, in the end zone. So, but overall, I feel confident about Canada just by the way he played. you add these guys down to the roster into the practice squad. Suddenly you have now a deep group of cornerbacks who can cover. Not world beaters, not all stars,
Yes.
but suddenly you've got 4 or 5 guys, 6 guys really, that you could throw out there and feel decent about the way that they can play football. You get Joseph out here, you push everybody down a notch, and suddenly you're in a really good spot with the depth of your cornerback room. You add a guy like Johnson on the practice squad, and it just insulates you from obviously the COVID situation, injuries. Cornerbacks run a ton, so injuries are going to happen. So I really like that move. I really like it when they find ways to collect guys in the practice squad that you feel like could eventually, play for you this year, not necessarily, developmental guys. So I am encouraged in general by the play of our secondary. It's not, like I said, they're not world beaters. They're not the 2019 Patriots, but they are a good group of cover guys, and when backed up with solid safety play. Now you've got, like I said, the depth to take you through the regular season and into the postseason with guys that you feel comfortable with. You're not trying to sign guys off the street to cover, Mike Evans in the second round of the playoffs, because you've got guys that you've seen in your system and practicing on your fields for almost the entire regular season.
And the Cowboys just have a lot of guys that they still like. Like obviously now Isaiah Johnson in your practice squad. They stashed Reggie Robinson for basically another year, right? They actually signed Holton Hill, who was a really solid corner out of Texas. So like they're just trying to collect as many of these long corners as possible. I got a good stat for you, Landon. There is 11 defensive backs in the NFL, not corners, but just defensive backs that are 6'2" or taller. Okay. The Cowboys have 6 of them.
The Cowboys have the majority of the entire NFL's supply of 6'2" corners. I love it.
Or 6'2" defensive backs. Just they love.
Yeah. Defensive backs in general. Wow.
Yeah. So they just love these big defensive backs. So it's pretty clearly a strategy. I love it. I think it's absolutely awesome. All right. A couple more questions before we move on. I really like this one. This is a good one from Jeffrey. If you could change your co-host's opinion on one thing, what would it be? I'm waiting. This is a good one. I mean, I got mine for you. It's just that coffee is supposed to be consumed with no sugar and cream in it. But go ahead.
Wow, that's what you.
Listen, I've been pretty strong in this take for a while, but
it's fair because Jeffrey didn't actually specify football opinion.
No, he just said what take. That's my biggest take. One.
Well, then we kind of have to go through the chicken wing boneless versus bone situation. I guess really the take I would change of yours is that you consider boneless wings to be boneless wings and not chicken nuggets. So let's just, maybe we could change that. Is that the take that I would change is that Marcus thinks that boneless wings are not chicken nuggets.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care what you call them. I just prefer the one that actually tastes better. So that works for me. All right, we'll get back on track. Here's a question from Christian. What is your biggest concern about the Cowboys for the rest of the season? Of course, we're 3-1, so we have to talk about the negatives. So biggest concern here.
Of course. I think. Look, the defense is mostly been predicated on a lot of big plays lately. I think that for the most part, they have been solid outside of that too. They've given up some yards. They've had some busts. But again, like a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're playing. Look at who they're playing with, And so I guess that's really where my concern is that injuries continue to kind of, belisle the defense to the point where it's like constantly this game of catch up, right? They're constantly having to make big plays in order to perform because they don't ever really get their full talent out there, that either DeMarcus Lawrence comes back and has another setback. The defensive line is not able to maintain what it's been doing without another pass rusher opposite Randy Gregory. So they have to continue to use Parsons in that role, and then the linebackers suffer from that. So, I just think that if injuries continue, and the defense starts to kind of just get exposed more and more, that's my biggest concern right now. But honestly, I'm not terribly concerned about it because I think the injuries have hit this team and they're already playing at a level better than any of us expected. So, I just would say continued bad injury luck would be detrimental.
That's my thought. I mean, they've been hit at some positions where they just lost a lot of guys, like the interior defensive line.
Yeah.
My problem is if there's a couple guys that if they lose, they're in big trouble. Like Micah's a big one. Like if they don't have Micah Parsons, they don't have anybody else that can really do that hybrid role of, hey, I'm going to blitz downhill, but I'm also going to cover. I'm going to come from the edge. If they lose Trevon Diggs, they're in big trouble, right? If they lose Randy Gregory, they kind of lose all their speed off the edge. So that's the thing. But they do have a lot of just general depth on defense, so I do think that'll help. But I think you're right. Injuries are always the biggest concern, and they should be for all the best teams. So that is it for today's show. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back on Wednesday to do an all 22 review. We've got a crossover edition of the show coming on Thursday, and then of course Friday will be our game preview. Make sure you're downloading the podcast wherever you get your podcast: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. You can follow the show at Locked On Cowboys. You can follow Landon at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus_Mosier. We'll see you next time.